And before we get started, this is Cami, but before we get started, I wanted to make a couple announcements. If anybody wants to be interviewed, go ahead and email me at straightoutofbspodcast@gmail.com. That's STR8OUTTABSPODCAST@gmail.com. And also, I wanted to thank you guys for your support so far. We're at like 850 something views and like 118 hours of view time. So I wanted to thank you all for that. Let's keep it going. Let's get this word out there. And yeah, that was pretty much all I wanted to say here. Oh yeah, one more thing. I wanted to plug a podcast that I listen to frequently and I get my news from. What is it called? Hold on a second. Should have been more prepared here. Okay, so the podcast I want to plug is Zen Lorenz. So that would be ZZENN space LOREN. He does really good like updates on the news and whatnot, pulls from various sources, doesn't have like the whole agenda that mainstream news has. So anyways, check him out. And with that being said, let's start the podcast. So go ahead and introduce yourself and where you went and what years and whatnot.
I'm Cami. I went to Spring Creek Lodge from September 1st, 1997 until February 14th, 1999.
Okay.
So about 17 and a half months.
Okay.
I believe it was 521 days.
Wow. Okay. So how long were you there total?
About 17 and a half months, so a year and a half.
Okay. Yeah, I was there 22 months. Okay. So did you get transported or did your parents bring you up there? What happened? Walk us through that.
Well, first thing I want to say, like, it took me 17 and a half months, and I literally, from the moment I arrived there, complied 100%. Like, the second I got there, I could see this thing's bigger than me. Like, when I lose, there's no way I'm gonna like get out of here. And so I 100, just as hard as I could, I complied as hard as I could from the moment I got there.
Yeah.
I babysat Cameron's kids several times a week. They wanted me to come back and work there. The crazy thing is, like, they will keep you there as long as they can, regardless of like how you're
They
doing.
get more money. The longer you're there, they get more money.
Yeah. So I say 17 and a half months, but like, that's kind of wild that I was there that long. Anyway, yeah, so I wasn't transported. My grandparents actually drove me up. And I was excited.
Did they trick you, or like, what did they tell you?
They didn't trick me at all. So I was like, I grew up in the Bay Area, and I was definitely, I was smoking weed and ditching school, and I just kind of felt like my life was falling apart. I wanted to be, successful and good. And like, before I even tried drugs, I actually, that's how much of a dork I was. I actually went to the library and I researched all the drugs, and I found out which ones would like not cause addiction or like at least physical dependence. And I decided, okay, I can do hallucinogens and weed. Like, I made a yes list and a no list, and I've always stuck to it, and I don't regret it at all. But I was surprised because I started smoking pot every single day, and I was like, oh shoot, like, this is not how I wanted to be. And my grades were dropping, and my mom and I weren't getting along. And so when they said, hey, like, you could go to boarding school, I was actually really excited about it. They're like, it's going to be small class sizes. The emphasis on academics is going to be really good. So yeah, I was excited to go. I wanted to meet new friends. I knew that I wasn't doing well at home. So yeah, I saw the brochure. I don't think I saw a video. People talk about a video. I didn't see that. I saw the brochure, and I saw like horseback riding and canoeing and hiking. And I was like, yeah, sign me up, man. Like, I'll do it. So I had no idea.
Yeah, it looks appealing. Like, the pictures they present to you, man, make it look appealing, and like, we're going to be horseback riding and going in the ocean and all this shit. And yeah.
Well, and it didn't even occur to me, like, who who would think that a place like that exists? Like
Yeah,
if you've just been a normal kid in normal school for your whole life,
yeah.
in places where they treat kids nicely and with respect, like why would you even think that a place like Spring Creek Lodge exists?
There's still a lot of people that don't even believe these places exist. It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then there's some
wasn't
people that just deny it. Some people are in full-fledged denial about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, even people who worked there, they don't really understand what it was like to be there against your will.
No, they haven't seen the other side of it.
Actually, I just saw your Facebook post. Was that a staff member who was like, why are these people still crying about something that happened? Dude, here's the thing. The first 10 years that I was out of the program, I did not cry. I didn't whine at all. I didn't cry at all. I was like, oh, that place saved my life. Oh, I'm so grateful. I thanked my grandparents for paying for it. Yeah. It was not until now, it's 25 years later. I'm 40 years old. Yeah. It was not until the last 5 years that I have come to recognize how that place affected me. Yeah. And that's the experience of a lot of people. Since I got out of the program, I have not broken the law. I have smoked weed maybe 10 times. I don't drink. I don't have a tattoo. Like, I am like the most like not, I don't like, I'm just a very straight person, but it's only been through a lot, like kind of hitting my 40s and being like, why am I like this? Why am I so different from all of my friends? Like, why do I not want to get married? Why can I not be part of a community? Why can I not work full time in an office environment? It's not like I'm stupid. It's not like I'm uneducated. I put myself through college. Like, why am I the way I am? And only in the last 5 years have I recognized the effect the program had on me. And I'm not whining about it. I'm not crying about it. I'm just saying this because I don't want other people to be messed up the way I was messed up.
And that's my whole thing, is that, and I tried explaining to him, because we were going back and forth for a second, because he was actually one of the staff members that I, felt that I was close to and shit in there. And it's really unfortunate because, like, I was telling him, look, man, I'm not doing this to push any one agenda, man. I'm trying to provide a platform for people to come on and share their stories so they feel like they're maybe not so alone or feel like they're heard, because a lot of these people don't even know that there's other people out there that are like them and have been through this shit. So it's like, to me, it's like, it's not even about dwelling on my time there. I pretty much worked through my time there, and like, there's still some stuff that I process and whatnot about it, but like, overall, this is to help people. This is to get the word out there. Like, I'm not saying, oh, woe is me, da-da-da. And even if there is some people that come on and the whole woe is me thing, that's fine. That's where they're at. That's what they want to talk about. Maybe their experience was all negative. That's fine. Yeah. Not everybody's going to have the same experience.
Well, and that's just, to me, it's a failure of imagination and a failure of empathy when other people are telling you, hey, this is how this experience affected me. And you go, no, it didn't. No, it didn't.
Or you should be over it. You should be over it by now. Because, it's like, nah, bro.
Which I literally graduated the program and I came out and I was over it immediately. I sang the program's praises. I staffed seminars after I got out. I went to the meetings. I cringe to even think about it, but I went to the state capitol in California and lobbied for them to keep, I'm so sorry, anybody that this affected, but to keep, certain things legal about the program. So like.
Well, the wool was probably pulled over your eyes, correct?
Oh, well, okay. Not only that, but the constant fear that you will be sent back, whether that's conscious or subconscious.
Yep.
I had that fear. So the first time I came back from college, my mom picked me up from the airport. I'm putting myself through college because my college money was spent on the program. So I'm working 3 jobs. I'm maintaining a 4.0. I'm killing myself in my life. I'm barely sleeping, studying all the time. I come back from college after my first semester or 2 or whatever it was. And I get in my mom's car and there's a water bottle and it says Spring Creek on it.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
I had a massive panic attack, and this is like 5 years later, and I'm not doing anything wrong. But I just like froze. And before my conscious thought even caught up, I was scanning the mirrors to see where the big men were who were going to take me away. Because I'd heard enough stories about transporters to know how that goes down. And I thought, okay, my purse is in the trunk. I'm not even going to grab it. I'm just going to book it. I'm going to jump. If I have to, I'm going to jump off this overpass.
Yeah.
Like I will not go back.
Yeah.
And it was, by the time my conscious mind caught up to me, my mom was already driving, and I was just like, and she was talking to me, and she's like, why aren't you answering me? And I go, Mom, I don't even know how to explain this, but I saw that water bottle and I thought you were going to take me back to Spring Creek. And this is like 5 years later, and I didn't even, I was still program, but
Yeah.
it's like in your body, man. Like it doesn't just leave your body.
Well, you've been brainwashed. It rewires your brain. Like people don't.
Yeah.
A lot of people on the outside don't understand that this is like the brainwashing they do works.
And it's at a time of your life where you're extremely vulnerable, where you're very
the most vulnerable. Yeah.
Yeah, like that is when you're becoming who you are socially, and you're in this high stakes, insane environment where every little thing you can do will be held against you by your peers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like, and so, I didn't think about it for 20 years. I was totally on team program, although they did ask me to come back to work and I said no. So I at least knew that much. And it was like, I would start to think about it and it's like a curtain would just fall across my mind. I'm like, no, I can't think about that, And for the first 10, 15 years after the program, like I would be somebody that they could point to and be like, what a success, like graduated cum laude from college, then I went and lived in Italy. I lived in Asia. I did all this stuff like, and again, not doing any drugs, nothing like that, which is crazy. Cause like when you've had an extreme experience like that, getting out and being in the normal world, it is not shocking at all that a lot of people start doing drugs, because I think that's why I had to seek out really extreme experiences. Like I got really into surfing, and I would surf like in crazy conditions. I lived in Hawaii, Italy, Taiwan. I lived in Taiwan for 7 years. I traveled all over because like your mind is unsettled. So you have to kind of like seek out unsettling circumstances so that your mind kind of matches.
Like feels more comfortable, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm like really passionate. I'm like not answering your questions. I'm just like going off.
No, you're good.
They have a lot to say.
This is your time to tell your story. I did want to go back. So when you got there, right? Let's go back to your first day when you get there. Like, what was your experience? Walk us through your first day there. Did they assign you a buddy? Like, how did that whole thing go?
Okay, I'm going to even go a little bit back. So like my grandparents and I were driving onto the facility. I'm listening to my Discman because I was like a music fanatic. And we're driving up the road and I was like super excited. I saw like way ahead. We were late because we got lost. But I saw way ahead a line of boys. And I was like, boys, like this is going to be awesome. Like I thought I was going to meet like a boyfriend there or something.
Yeah.
So we're driving and we see this line of boys, and I just kind of like looked at, I knew the boys liked me. You know what I mean? Like most when, in high school or whatever, guys liked me. So I like looked up and smiled at them, and just like that they looked like 95-year-old men. Like their eyes were just dead and they were just like stoop shouldered. And just like that 1,000-yard stare, like they just were. And it was just like in that moment, I was like, what? Like not even one of them would like look at me or smile at me. And then the staff member by the side of the line was like, look down or something. And they all just dropped their eyes in like a second. And I was staring at them as we were driving by. And I was like, are they going to look back up? and smile at me or something. I'm a girl, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Nothing. They did not look back up. Like, that's how programmed they were. And I think that was the first second that I was like, this is not what I thought it was.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. So then they like, I went into the office. It was different then. I was only like the 8th girl there. So
how many boys were there?
Really, you know, I don't know because we had so little contact. I'm going to guess between 20 and 30. Somebody else who was there at the time I was there might be able to answer that better, but I think there was 1 or 2 boys' families. I'm not sure. We would have to ask, what's his name? The little cutie. He got sent there when he was like 12. Ridiculous, this cute little kid. Cliff Miller, I want to say. Anyway, we're friends on Facebook. I could ask
Clifford Miller?
over there. Yeah.
I'm gonna have him on the podcast.
Yay!
Yeah.
Cliff, if you see this, what's up? I don't really know him. Again, we had so little contact between the boys and girls, but I just remember that glimpses that I did catch of this kid. I mean, I was 16, so I felt much, much older than him. But I just remember going, what is he doing here? He's a baby. You know, like, what can a 12-year-old do that's so bad they get sent here?
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. So I like go into the office, and they knew that academics was really important to my grandparents, which it was, you know, like, they're very educated. They wanted me to be educated. And so they sent in Sabrina Hermiston, who was like the principal at that time. And she was like talking to me. She's like, okay, what math class are you in? Like, you just finished your freshman year. What math class are you in? And I was like, PC1. Because in California, PC1 stood for pre-college 1. And that was as a freshman, it was like the best math class that you could possibly get into. You know, like, I was mostly in there with like juniors, you know what I mean? And so I told her that, kind of hoping that I could impress her so she would understand that I'm like not an idiot, you know, even if I'm a little bit rebellious, do a little drug, you know, like, I'm not stupid. And she didn't know what that class was, which is fine. It wasn't a national thing. It was just in California, I guess. And she goes, PC what? And I'm like, PC1? And she goes, you don't know what you're talking about. She's like, that's not the name of a math class. And I'm like, I'm sorry, that's what we call it. But then so she kept like badgering me about what it was. Is it algebra? Is it calculus, geometry, whatever? I remember those first couple of days like everything.
Oh yeah, like they were.
So if I go into too much detail, be like, Kevin, this is boring. But anyway, so I was like trying to explain it to her, but maybe, you know, I'm 16, so I had a little, and she was treating me like I was stupid, and she was embarrassing me in front of my grandparents, right? And so I was like trying to explain it to her, but I might have had a little bit of an attitude. I don't think I was that bad. And she just goes, hey, that attitude won't work here. And I was like, whoa. And I was already kind of freaked out from seeing the boys and from like being there. Like, it was just scary for my first day. And so I started crying a little bit. And so she was like, told my grandparents to leave. She's like, maybe you need to leave me and Cami alone. Yeah. And kept just badgering me about what classes I was going to take. Anyway, she ended up putting me in like algebra, which was I'd already done algebra in like 8th grade or something. So I had been so excited because I really wanted to like take really good classes and be in small class sizes so I could like really learn my talents and really get ahead in school. And you know, I really had this vision of like, oh, I'm going to like a really expensive private school. This is going to prepare me for college. I wanted to stop smoking weed. You know, I was like, yeah, like I realize that that's too much of a habit for me right now. So I want to stop. Yeah, like I was all geared up. I was like, okay, yeah, get me. I'm in some bad habits at home or whatever. Like, get me to a new place. But it was not the kind of place I expected. Anyway. So that was when I was like, oh shoot. And I think they told me, oh, longest you'll be there is like 6 months or something. And so I think I was like, okay, I'm going to be so good that they will not be able to keep me even 6 months. Like, I am just going to follow every rule. I'm going to be so good. And it was like immediate. It was like, as soon as I got there, that's what I thought. But yeah, you can't follow every rule.
Yeah.
It's impossible. The degree of vigilance that would take, like, humans can't pay that much attention to every movement, every place you look, every facial expression you make, all of your body language, plus 1,000 little rules that dictate literally every step you take. No human being, I mean, I remember holding on for like a day or two and not getting any warnings for a day or two. And that was like amazing, you know? But even somebody like me who's trying as hard as they could, I wasn't like a terrible kid, you know, still I got warnings all the time. And yeah. But yeah, so, and okay, should I keep going on about my first day? Because I remember it like it was like 3 weeks ago, which is crazy because it was 25 years ago. So then you guys have talked about, I've listened to like every interview you've done. But you guys have talked about, yeah, of course, yeah. You guys have talked about like a trailer where you did check-in or whatever. Yeah, I don't even know what that is because I was just in the office. You know, there's the Hungry Horse, and then there's like,
it was right down the Hungry Horse in the front, right after the parking lot. It was like a trailer.
Yeah,
that they did intakes.
It must have come later because the one that they did my intake was in like a permanent building.
Okay.
So it was in the library. Did you guys ever go in the library?
Yeah, the library. Okay, was when I was there, the library was. So there was all the cabins, right, for all the families, and then it was in the lower part of one of the cabins. Was that?
Really? Yeah, it was totally different. It was in the office. It was like, okay, so you'd walk into the office, and there was Cameron's office on the left.
Was it right when you first pulled in? Was it the first building when you first pulled in?
I feel like I could draw a map. Hold on.
Yeah, do that.
Okay. So, oh goodness, this is going to be hard. Okay, here's the Hungry Horse. And then it wasn't even, and then like there's the office, and here's where we did laundry. It was like a 2-story. And so like this was way up, you know where the Hungry Horse is, right?
Yeah, it's like in the middle.
Yeah. So it's like that's the Hungry Horse. Isn't this a beautiful map?
Oh, so you're in the admin building. I know where that is.
Yeah, the admin building.
Yeah, okay.
I think we called it the office, but I can't remember. So like it was in the end of it, and they actually built an addition right before I left, where they would have like facility-wide meetings because the facility grew to 300 kids while I was there. Yeah. So it went from like 30 to 300. It was crazy.
Yeah.
So yeah, they built an addition there. But anyway, so there was like the library, and I think at that time they had really limited female staff. So like the person who did my intake almost entirely was like this 13-year-old kid. I won't say her name, but she too had this 1,000-yard stare. Like she looked 13. She had like braces and friendship bracelets and, you know, adorable little 13-year-old. But her aura or like her attitude was like a very jaded 45-year-old woman. Like could not get a smile out of this kid. I was trying to be nice to her because I'm like, I'm this cool 16-year-old. She's probably intimidated. No, she was just like screwed in the head because she had been there. So she was a junior staff. She had been at Cross Creek. Okay. And so she did all my intakes. She like went through my clothes. She was like feeling every inch of my underwear, you know, seeing, she was like, how everything was in my image. I couldn't have anything. And it was just the weirdest thing because there was an adult woman there too, but she was like a brand new staff member. So she didn't know anything. So she was
Yeah.
like kind of kowtowing to this 13-year-old. And I was like, this is like crazy town. So like we finished and she took all my CDs. I about killed myself. I was like,
Yeah.
how can I survive without music? And she's just like, you can't, all this music is in your image. You can't have it. So I was really kind of getting into a bad, and she took all my books away. I remember I was in the middle of reading Train Spotting. Do you know that book?
I love that movie. I haven't read
the movie.
but
Yeah.
I love that movie, man. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was reading the book and I just remember she's like, train potting. And I'm like, yeah. And she's like, what is this about? And I was like, oh, well, it's really good because it's like about drug use, but they don't glorify it at all. Like a lot of people read this in rehab and stuff. Cause I was like trying to make her let me keep it.
Yeah.
And she like opened it and she read a sentence because it's all F-bombs. And she's like, you can't have this.
Yeah.
And she's like, I should give you a warning just for bringing this. And I was like, a warning?
Give you a super dirty look, huh? Give you a super dirty look and then be like, I'm gonna, yeah.
So yeah, it was crazy. And so I was looking at, sorry, my lips are dry. So I was looking at the books in the library because I was like a really avid reader. Like I read a book a week,
I started reading.
And
I never really read that much before I got there, but when I got there, man, that was like the one escape I had. Like,
yeah.
Like, get in a good book, man. It like transport you places.
But they wouldn't let me read anything. The only thing they let me have was the Book of Mormon and the Celestine Prophecy. Which
interesting.
I don't. Yeah,
almost like it had like a religious aspect to it, like in the early days.
Oh, well, I should say that I grew up Mormon, so my family's Mormon, and that's kind of like one of my obsessions right now is like how Mormon culture feeds into program culture.
Yeah.
And how it's really interesting because now I'm out of both, obviously. Like I've left the church and I've left the program. But yeah, just having kind of a little distance, I can see how Mormon culture kind of really fed into the culture of the program.
Yeah.
And it's fascinating.
Yeah, it's fascinating. Like all of that stuff, just like the program in general is just like how it ran, like the philosophies they had, like just all of it's just super. I just find like human psychology in general interesting.
I was a psych major, so.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, it hasn't really helped me. The only thing that's helped me is statistics and stuff like that, and research. But so yeah, so there was that whole thing with her. Then they called another female staff in to strip search me, and I wasn't really like that. Didn't upset me that much. I had been. So
you didn't feel violated or anything?
I'd been to this hospital. Maybe other people know it. It's the Walnut Creek Hospital. It's in the Bay Area in the East Bay. And actually there was a therapist there who we might have to go after one of these days. He's probably in like his 70s now, but Dr. John Rochios, he referred me. He referred my friend Cindy. Well, maybe I shouldn't say anybody else's name. Sorry, Cindy. He referred another friend and another friend. He just anybody who had the means to pay for the program, he would refer them there, even if they weren't that bad. So this guy, Dr. Rochios, is kind of on my shit.
Dr. Phil did that too. Dr. Phil had a whole contract with the fucking people. She's crazy.
Can't believe it, dude. I can't believe it. Because they get kickbacks. It's
Yeah.
It certainly wasn't in my best interest. It was just let's send this girl away.
Yeah.
Anyway, though, so I'd been at that hospital and they had strip searched me, but like the staff there were so, I don't know how to explain it, but like at Walnut Creek Hospital, I feel like they saw us as human beings. And honestly, I'll even go a step further and say, and I know some of the program staff, oh, puppy, my dog wants to leave this room. Sorry, just a second.
Okay, you're good.
Puppy, do you want to go out? Oh, baby, you're the best dog. You want to go outside? You good girl? Sorry.
You're good.
So what was I even saying about that? Oh yeah, so I had been strip searched there for the first time, and they were so like respectful and just like explained to me why we were doing what we were doing, and what they were looking for, and because they were concerned about me, they didn't want anything sharp in there, and
Yeah.
and like they were so loving and kind that it didn't, I was like, okay, I get it. So when it happened at the program, I was like, okay, cool, but they weren't as kind about it.
Yeah.
But it was, I'm not like somebody who's super, like, I remember some girls would get there and they get like impacted bowels because they couldn't go to the bathroom with somebody watching them. I've never been like super shy about my body in that way. So the strip search didn't really bother me.
Okay.
So then we went straight from there to the Hungry Horse, which to this day, that name for a building like makes me like irrationally angry.
Yeah.
I hate it so much. The Hungry Horse. Oh my gosh, my skin crawls. I just hate it.
It's like,
so
we're horses now? We're horses now?
I don't get it. I mean, it's like I said, it's irrational, but I hated it then. I hate it now. But we went to the Hungry Horse and went to meet my family, which was Destiny. It was the first girl's family. Like I said, I was the 8th girl. There were a couple junior staff when I got there, but they were from Cross Creek. And then there were 6 girls. I'm going to try to remember not to say anybody's name, but there were 6 girls, and all of them had gotten there earlier, and all of them had gone through Discovery together. So they were kind of like bonded, and they were like really into feedback.
Yeah.
And then there was another new girl. I should just give her a code name. And then there was me. Right. So yeah, that figures in later, but we were kind of the scapegoats for a while, which I think most new kids kind of are in the program. Although, like, I think it was really different as time went on. I remember new girls getting there and they wouldn't get like I feel like for my first month or 2 or 3, there weren't any other new girls. And so it was kind of like there was like a magnifying glass on me,
Yeah.
I just felt like there was a lot of focus on breaking me down and like, breaking
That's
me
their
so
whole
that I
thing.
would just
That's their whole fucking
conform.
thing.
Yeah. Which they honestly didn't need to. All I did was cry my first week. Seriously.
Yeah.
So we went to the Hungry Horse and like I got in there and they were having some kind of disgusting like sloppy joe something or other for lunch, or maybe it was dinner. No, I think it was lunch. And I was just like, well, I'm not eating that. I'm a vegetarian. And immediately Bobby, who a lot of people loved Bobby, I think she's passed now. And she was a nice person, but I think she hated me because I was a vegetarian. And somebody immediately, like as soon as I said, oh, I'm a vegetarian, one of the girls raised her hand and said, can I say something to the new girl? And the staff was like, come whisper it in my ear first. And so she went over and whispered in the staff's ear. She's like, blah, blah, blah. And the staff was like, yeah, you can say that. And she goes, David Gilcrease says that any vegetarian is actually just an attention suck. And I was like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah.
I just want to eat meat. Okay. Like, what is your problem? And so I think legally they had to like if you had a dietary thing like that, they had to like give you vegetarian food. But I think that they're like that they were so angry about it that they would just try to torch, because I would get like charred black veggie burgers, like they were the most disgusting veggie burgers I've ever tasted, and they would just burn them on both sides. I would have to eat 80% of just a cold block of tofu sometimes. It was just a block of tofu that they right out of the package.
A lot of people probably just saw you as maybe the people work in the kitchen just for some insight. Maybe they, and I'm not trying to justify anything, that's not right at all. But what I'm saying is maybe, the people in the kitchen were like, man, fuck that bitch. She's a vegetarian. She thinks she can get special treatment. Da, 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 da. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, maybe, I can see some shit like that going through their heads. You know what I mean?
Well, I think they made sure that as a vegetarian, I wasn't going to get better food.
Yeah.
You know,
See, yeah.
and I don't know how it was when you were at Spring Creek, but when I was there, absolutely the worst thing you could be is a special case.
Oh yeah, totally.
Anybody who like
they get
wanted more or said, oh, my head hurts, or anything that you said, like, God forbid you become physically injured, because if you did, you were a special case, and they hated that. They hated that. So, and then somebody else immediately told me, they're like, nobody ever gets through this. Oh, one of the junior staff was like, nobody ever gets through this program of vegetarian. Like, you will start eating meat before you leave here. And I totally didn't. So screw them. I'm still a vegetarian.
Yeah.
But so they made me a PB&J that day, which wasn't bad. But you know those green trays? Did they still have those when you were there?
Totally.
So like, they'd come out of the washer totally wet.
Oh
so
yeah.
Whenever we had PB&J, they just splat it onto that wet tray.
Yeah.
And the bottom bread would be all soggy. It was disgusting. Anyway, but whatever, you know, like, that's not a big deal. Yeah. So they bring me this soggy PB&J, and there were toothpicks stuck in it. And I was like, oh, cool. And they had assigned me a buddy. She was on level 3, but she still, I don't know how it was when you were there, but she still was not allowed to speak to me. Without staff permission.
Yes. They had to be Yep. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Okay, sorry, you froze for a sec. I was like, okay. Yeah. So she again raised her hand and said permission to say something to my buddy, and she had to whisper it in the staff's ear. And then she said it to me. She's like, "You're so lucky. Usually they don't let us have anything that sharp," because there were like toothpicks stuck.
Oh wow. Okay. Yeah, I can see that.
It's like they don't let you have anything.
Yeah, because you wouldn't really think of a toothpick as sharp.
This place is crazy. Yeah. Well, and actually the reason they put the toothpicks in there was because it was my 16th birthday that day. Oh, so okay. I arrived on my 16th birthday. Anyway, so that was just like the weirdest thing. And I just remember going through the rest of the day, we were not allowed to talk at all. You know, the heel-toe lines. I kept getting warnings. Oh yeah, I got a warning from that 13-year-old girl who checked me in. As soon as we left the library, I got a warning for talking to her. And I was like, you're like the staff, I'm talking to you. And she's like, no, that you have a warning. And I'm like, I don't even know what that is.
That's fucked up.
Yeah, they did not explain anything to me. I
didn't go over the rule manual, anything? Did they not go over the rule manual? Nothing like that?
No. So no, and I don't know if I slipped through the cracks. I don't know if it was just because the girls program was so new and the staff didn't know anything, but I learned little by little. I was like a little, like, just constantly scanning to try to like figure out what was going on here and what was against the rules and how I should act. And they didn't tell me anything, which is really funny because later when I went to college, one of the only good paying jobs I could find was at a program for kids. And they would hire me. It sucks, but they hired me because I had experience. You know, I had been at one of those kids. So, and I remember in that program, they got a new girl and she broke a rule. And so I was like, oh, hey, you have to have a consequence for breaking that rule. And one of the staff pulled me aside. She's like, Cami, she can't get a consequence, or she can't break rules yet. She doesn't understand them. She's like, we have to give them a week to acclimate before we start punishing them.
Well, then what happened in your case? Yeah.
I'm like, legally, really? I'm like, is that just here in Hawaii, or is that like nationwide? Because that definitely, like, I was just getting warnings up, like, oh, I'd stepped the wrong place. Oh, I forgot to ask to cross before I went through a doorway. Oh, I stood up without asking permission. But I didn't know any of those things were against the rules.
Yeah. That's crazy. I can't even imagine not being, you know, like, they didn't read the rule manual to me, but like, it was kind of like a thing. Like, they made sure like you at least read the rules. So that's crazy they didn't go over shit with you, man. I can't even.
Well, and the other thing that happened, I totally remember this, and it's like, I'm still confused about this, but on my second or third night, no, I think it was my second night, one of the girls, or they like, oh, and they didn't have group my first 3 days.
Okay.
And I didn't know why. I didn't know what group was, so I didn't know we weren't doing it. But it was just the weirdest thing because we were on like a stricter silence than ever, like no group, no nothing. So I was just dropped into this like silent group of girls who were just like walking in a line from cabin to classroom to Hungry Horse to classroom to basketball court, where we would just walk in circles around the basket. We weren't allowed to play a game. We weren't allowed to do anything or talk to each other at all. We had to be 6 feet apart. It was like COVID. and then back to the cabin. So it was 3 days of literally, I was just so confused and nobody was telling me anything. Like every once in a while, my buddy would say, "Oh, you broke a rule." And I was like, okay. But it was really, really confusing. But on like the second night, one of the girls asked if she could share or something. And the staff was like, yeah, you can share. And she said, this silence challenge is like so powerful for me right now, because it just reminds me that like, I think sometimes I treat the staff here the way I treated my parents at home. And I'm so sorry for being rude. And I was like, my ears like perked up because I was like, oh, it's not always like this. Like we're on a
Yeah.
special silence thing. And so I thought, okay, as soon as this thing is over, I'm going to be able to talk to these girls and have fun, and we'll do like class
Yeah.
assignments together and we'll play basketball. And so I had like all this hope, like my second night. And then I found out, no, like it's always going to be like this when you're on the lower levels. So it was just like this horrible disappointment. Oh, sorry, gosh, I'm getting like a talking hangover.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry to hear that.
No, okay, I talk too much sometimes.
It's all good. No, you're good. You're good. You're
Hmm.
good. This is your story. We have as much time as you want. So yeah. So after your second day there, so after you started being able to talk to them, walk us through like how. Just keep talking about.
Well, I was never able to talk to them.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, they just I don't know if silence was stricter back then or what, but like I heard the other people you interviewed were like, "Oh, you couldn't talk to level 3 unless you're level 3 or something."
Yeah.
Levels 1 through 3, like we were not allowed to talk
Okay.
to
So
each other at all.
what was what was like an average day, like what the schedule was, like that you remember?
Oh, gosh. So like so the girls at that time, those big buildings where there's like a family here, family here, family here, family here. I think there were like 4 big
Yep.
rooms. Those were not built yet. So I saw the construction of those like while I was
Like the bigger
there.
cabin buildings that
So
they
the
have later
girls,
on?
yeah, those didn't
Okay.
exist when I got there.
Okay.
So the girls' cabin was actually, I don't know, it was maybe like a quarter mile, or I don't know, like a 5-minute walk, or maybe a 10-minute walk from the cabin to like the classrooms and the Hungry Horse and all of that. So we had that walk every morning, and that honestly, it saved my life. Like just being out in the trees and stuff like that, which like I remember hearing from the junior staff and stuff about Cross Creek and how you're always surrounded by cement and you had this big wall. And I'm just so grateful that I went to Spring Creek because I would have died. I would have died without the trees and I just needed that, like that atmosphere was the only thing that saved me. But yeah, so like in the morning, I think it was 6, we would wake up, and it was
Yeah.
always like they'd flicker the lights and they'd go 3 minutes, and we'd all like get up, and you'd have to like make your bed perfect, and be standing next to your bed at the end of 3 minutes. And I just remember like at the beginning, I could not get my bed that well made in 3 minutes. Like it was impossible for me. And I later found out that a lot of girls would like sleep strategically so that they didn't have to like make their, like there's this one girl, she's like, yeah, I just shivered.
Sleep with it made
Yeah,
is what I used to do. Yep.
This one girl, she had this blanket that was several layers. Like her parents had sent her this blanket that had several layers to it, and it could not, like it just wouldn't lay flat on her bed without like a lot of work. And so that girl's like, yeah, because she tried to like write home and get another blanket, and they're like, oh, you special case, you're trying to manipulate your parents for more things. And she's like, no, I can't. Like that blanket is impossible to like, she was getting warnings consistently every single morning because of the blanket, because she couldn't get it to lay flat. So finally she just would sleep like on top of it or like to the side of it. I can't remember. I mean, I didn't see her, what she did, but she's just like, yeah, I just shiver all night. I just lay there and shiver all night, and I don't use my blanket because in the morning I'll get a warning. Do you remember? Because I don't remember how many points we could get per day. I want to say it was like 10 points per day was the maximum. And if you got a warning, you would lose 1 or 2 points, depending on if you staff or self-corrected. Do you remember? Because I don't remember.
I think it would vary, and it's obviously going to be a lot different because you were like, it sounds like you were there when it was essentially first opening, and I was there down right when it was closing. Like I was the last person to graduate from there, so there's going to be a lot of differences. But on average, when I was there, you could earn like if you had a really good day and didn't get any consequences, you could earn like 30-40 points. I think.
Yeah, I can't remember. Like, I wish I had that information. Yeah, anyway.
It's all good.
Hey, did you hear about like years ago, probably in like 2012 or 2013, that somebody went onto campus or the property and they found all of our records?
I think I heard something about that, but I couldn't say like the details of it. I can't remember.
I think it was 2 program kids had gone back and they found their records and they grabbed some of their friends' records, but they were like in an unlocked room, just like on anybody who wandered onto campus could have found them. But and like our most intimate, private details of our lives were like, you know, those like 3-inch binders that
well, I do know. I know for a fact that they would keep, at least when I was there, they would keep a whole they would keep entire binders on every single person they had there. Like they would have like their traumas in there. Fucking like their triggers, like all their shit. So, and they do that shit. They use these mostly in seminars to fucking point people out and be like, why don't you get up and talk about the time you were raped and did it or whatever the fuck it was. You know, put you on the spot and see if they were quote unquote ready to work their program or not, or if they needed to choose out. So yeah, I know for a fact that they had big binders like that. I can't remember exactly what I heard about, but I think I heard somebody coming in and taking some files. But I know that they had them for sure. Because there was shit that they knew about me that I was like, how the fuck do you even know that? Like,
you're like, oh, I told my family father that I totally trusted. I told him about that 2 months ago, and he swore he wouldn't tell anybody. And now every 50 people in this room know all about it. And it's not like they say it sympathetically. It's not like, oh, I heard you were raped. It's like, oh, you little slut. Like, what'd you do to get raped? I bet you wanted it. Blah, blah. You know, like the worst possible things they could say is the way they were going to introduce that.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, though, like, so the records, so I heard that, but I was living in Taiwan at the time, and I couldn't come home to like some residency, I was trying to get permanent residency there, so I couldn't go back. But I had heard that those records were there. And then I joined a group that we were trying to get the records. And there was this like week where they said, yeah, they're going to give us our records and we'll send them to you in Taiwan. And I was like so excited because there's so much of the program that I had forgotten. But then all of a sudden they're like, oh, there was a fire and all your records got burned. So it's like they promised that they would give them to us and then they burned them. I think because they knew that lawsuits would definitely happen.
Well, yeah, they already had a bunch of lawsuits on them too, so.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was really disappointing, but I was hoping that I could get those records because I just want to remember that time of my life, you know? It's like I almost have like a physical ache for those records. Like if there's any object like in this world that I really, I mean, obviously my dog, I love my dog and my friends and everything like that. But if of things in this world, like that is the thing that I would pay so much cold hard cash for those records if I could just get them. But apparently they got burned. So it just sucks because like that's our history.
Yeah.
And they knew that it would get them in trouble, so they burned it.
Yeah.
And they didn't protect them before they were burned. They didn't protect it. They didn't care. They didn't care about protecting, you know, the most private, most intimate details of innocent kids' lives. Like, yeah.
Yeah. So, you were talking about your average day. So would you?
Sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. You're good.
Okay.
So you would eat, right? You'd wake up in the morning, right? At like 6, right? You'd line up. Well, okay. Let me go through how it went essentially when I was there, and then just correct me where it's
okay.
different.
I'll tell you if anything was.
So when I
if
was
I can
there,
remember.
Yeah, for sure. So when I was there, you'd wake up around 6. They'd have you line up, make your bed, all of that, and then we'd go have breakfast. We'd do a head count. We'd go and have breakfast, and then after that, we'd go to the classroom pretty much all day, Monday through Saturday, I believe.
Yeah.
And then
yeah.
on Sundays we would, and then after that we would go. We in between studying, of course, we'd have lunch and then go to dinner. And then after dinner, we'd go back to the cabin. And so my question for you was like, during that time at night, since you guys weren't talking or having like groups, what would you do at nighttime?
I think we were meant to write to our parents.
Okay.
And it was really important. I think it was a letter a week that you had to do. And it was really important that you got that right. Because if you wrote your letter and the staff read it and they didn't approve of it, and I learned really fast, like what you were allowed to say and what you weren't allowed to say, but you certainly were not allowed to say anything bad about the program. Even if it was totally strictly true, even if I described something like a fly on the wall, just the facts. Yeah, like you weren't allowed to write that kind of stuff. So like if you didn't get your letter right, then they would rip it up. And then they would say, oh, you didn't write a letter to your parents this week. That's a cat too, or whatever. So like, yeah, so I think we could work on letters home. What else did we do in the evening? I think there may have been a little time to read or something, but I see, that's the thing. Like, I remember my first 3 days really well, but after that, I don't remember anything. I think we did have one class session in the evening after dinner in the cabin. There was a room downstairs that didn't have any girls in it because there were very few of us. And so we would just do another school session. I ripped through school there, man. Did you guys do what they called it a track? And you would take X amount of tests per week and you had to get a B or above.
Yep. You'd always have. That's one thing that I liked about it is that you'd have to pass your classes. You couldn't just fail the shit. You couldn't move on if you didn't get that. But so let's see. So I'm curious about your first seminar. Like, when did that happen?
Jeez.
What do you remember about it?
So we had discovery, focus, accountability keys, PC1, PC2.
Yeah.
And I think you guys had something called orientation, and I'm curious.
Yeah, they started that later on. But yeah.
Okay. So my first seminar was discovery. The facilitator was Lou. I just saw her LinkedIn the other day. She like brags about working in the program. I like want to jump on there. And
there's a lot of people that made a lot of money. I actually had one staff member on, and she made she says, for in her own words, a lot of money from when she worked there. I mean, she regrets a lot of stuff, but she's a good gal, but anyways, just know that they paid a lot of money. They paid a lot of money, and I know that that's one thing that was a drop.
Like $10 an hour though.
From what
I
she
mean, maybe in the
tells
late
me,
90s, that's good, but I mean, in small town Montana in the late 90s, maybe that was good.
Well, also,
but I was making that much
about all the overtime that they get too, and like being in the families sometimes at night and stuff. You get paid
That's
extra.
such a program move, man. They open the facility in an economically depressed area where there is no other industry. That area, they were pissed because logging had ended there.
Yep,
that's why
there. Yep.
So a bunch of people had to leave the area, and so the people who stayed were like, this was a godsend to be able to work there. So I get that.
Yeah,
I get it.
Yeah,
I've had times where
I'm not trying to justify or anything. I'm just for people that don't know.
And then you have that thing where the law enforcement, everybody, the government in that area, all of them have a cousin who works there or a brother or, their wife depends on that income or
paid off or.
The whole thing, like there's no checks and balances. There's no, okay, what's really going on here? Nobody cares.
In my opinion, have you seen the documentary, Who's Watching the Kids about Spring Creek?
I don't think I saw all of it, but I can't remember his name, but he's probably no longer with us. But that guy, I think he was a politician. Dude, I'm going to get emotional even right now, but like.
That's okay.
Sorry.
It's okay. You're good. It's okay to cry.
Yeah. But like that guy had our backs, man. Like he was trying so hard to like figure out what was going on and just being like, this industry chews those kids up. I can't remember what.
I know who you're talking about. The dude with the glasses.
And the white hair. Yeah.
Yeah.
If like somebody in his family or if he ever sees this, I just want to thank him like for caring about what we were going through. Like nobody else cared, And this one guy was like, he didn't even have a kid there or anything, and he still cared. Like, I don't know. It just made me really emotional when I saw that. Because somebody was working for us, even though we didn't know it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And there was that was the guy that tried to get no, and then it was another guy that tried to get Carly Newman out, and then they were fighting him against it. And they even had a court order, and that's what I was getting to is that the police officer in that documentary, man, the way he talks, man, the way he talks, he's paid off, bro. He's completely paid off.
Like, no, it's a very good blah blah blah. Yeah, no.
He's like, I just don't recall, or I'm not sure I want to answer that question. Well, why not, bro? Why the fuck?
Yeah, why not?
What do you have to hide? And he's like, I don't feel comfortable talking about that. It's like, I don't give a fuck if you feel like. This is like
Chafin. Do you remember Chafin?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I remember.
He had like a couple of talking points, like a couple of sound bites, and whatever they would ask him, he'd like try to go back to one of those sound bites. I was like, oh my gosh, Chafin, you freaking idiot.
And he kept on saying no comment. He was saying no comment a bunch too. It's like, bro, are you for real right now?
Cheeks and just shake him, man. If I have a hit on for anyone, it's Chafin. Oh my. Oh.
He has that smirk, man, that makes me just want to punch him in the face, dude. Like he's always smirking.
When. Yeah. Oh, he's such a. I know him too well. Yeah. I know. Like when I was there, Chafin and Cameron were very involved. As an adult, I look back and I'm like, I know that Cameron was just as guilty, but Chafin did everything he could to torment me. Like Chafin, one of the first things he ever said to me. So, back to my first day, gosh, so I was like trying to eat my soggy sandwich, and all of a sudden Chafin busted into the Hungry Horse, and he was like so excited to see the new girl, and he's like, oh, you're the new girl, and I was just like, you're freaking me out with this like puppy energy, you weirdo. And then he's like, hey, let's make her stand on the table and you guys can give her feedback. Dude, I just got there. And, the staff were kind of like, no, Chafin, like, no, don't do that to her. And so he's like all disappointed and he left because like nobody wanted to stand me on the table on my first day and give me feedback. Oh, but he did make me stand on the table and made everybody sing happy birthday to me. And so I'm just like, my very first day there, everything was so weird. And he made me stand on the table and I'm sobbing and everybody's singing happy birthday to me. It was the weirdest. Like, he just loved having the power to like hurt you and control you and like make you uncomfortable. I don't know how he explains it to himself, but that was like his thing. Also, like, I had been in that hospital. I'd been in a hospital for a week before I went to the program, a couple months before. And a girl there had killed herself. Her name was Karen. And I was one of the people who found her. So it was like a really, it was a really traumatizing experience. But I refused to talk about it when I got to the program because I could tell this is not like, I wouldn't have put it in these words. I didn't have it like consciously like this, but I'm like, this is not a safe place to talk about something that really matters to me. Anyway, Chafin found out that I had witnessed this suicide. And I remember we were having group in the Hungry Horse, because sometimes we did that, the girls did, because like going back to the cabin was really far or whatever. And so we're having group in the Hungry Horse. It was like in my first week. And he like bounces into the Hungry Horse and he's like, hey, Cami, who's Karen? Who's Karen? Hey, Cami, who's Karen? And I was just like, dude, I'm sorry. Like, I'm not serving my trauma up to you on a silver platter, like, because you think that's like, he was just always looking for the thing that would make you cry, And so I'm just like, oh, Karen killed herself, and I didn't cry, which was, I'm a crier. So like, I don't know. Yeah, I have a real hate on for Chafin. I hate him. Chafin, if you hear this, I hate you. You're the only human on this planet that I can honestly say I hate. So put that in your pipe and smoke it, you dick.
For sure. I agree. Fuck you, Chafin.
Yeah.
And let's see here. So yeah, about the seminar, like going back to the seminars.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're fine. You're fine. I'm just trying to.
I do have ADHD. Actually,
I do too.
Probably just CPTSD. She's like, Cami, I don't think you have ADHD. I think you have CPTSD, and it like mimics the same symptoms. Yet another way the program has blessed me in my adult life.
I'm bipolar.
Mm.
Too. I got PTSD, a bunch of shit.
Yeah.
So I definitely feel it. But the first seminar you went through, discovery. What do you remember any of the processes? What was your experience of that seminar?
By then I was pretty thoroughly broken in. I'd already had like, now I know to call it attack therapy, but like feedback where people stood toe to toe and just screamed in your face. Like that happened to me my third night, thanks to Chafin as well. And I'll read, the gravel pit thing that happened to me on my third night. It's a long story, but so the seminar, I remember like, I believe it was Discovery that they had us wrap up the towels in duct tape and then, hit the floor and stuff.
It was Discovery and Focus for us.
Oh, did they do it? I think they only did it in one of them, and I can't remember which, but I just remember, wait. Okay, yes, it was Discovery because I had Lou for Discovery and I had Dwayne for Focus. Anyway, like first they were like, oh, you hate your dad, blah, blah, blah. Like, go push on the wall, show how much you hate your dad. And I was just like, I don't hate my dad. Yes, I have some issues with him, but that's normal. Like, why are you making me do this? But I just remember like being like, this really sucks to be inauthentic, but I know what's expected of me in this scenario. And I know what I have to do to succeed. And I know I have to succeed at this seminar in order to get through the program. So being an observant person, I am in this position where I have to be totally inauthentic and pretend to feel things that I don't feel, and say things that I don't mean, and be completely untrue to myself, because my freedom depends on it, and my life, they're not going to kill me, but like, I would rather be dead than stay there for as long, for a long time. And so I remember just making that decision to, okay, I'm going to act really out of control and really upset. And so sure enough, like when I got really, really hysterical and crying, even though I didn't mean it, one of the staffers, I think it was a parent volunteer, pulled me off the wall and gave me the, the thing to start hitting the ground. Everybody called that the popcorn process. Is that what you guys called it?
We called it the release process.
Oh, well, we called it popcorn because in the early days, we did the seminars in the Hungry Horse. And so like you would eat, the rest, people who weren't in the seminar would eat outside or, nearby, but you could hear that process and you go, oh, popcorn, they're doing popcorn now.
Yeah.
So we just called it the popcorn process because like from a distance, it sounded like popcorn, like all those people hitting. Anyway, I remember people around me going berserk. And one guy who was close to me hit his towel down. I mean, I'm sure he was aiming for the floor. It was pretty dark in there, but he hit me. And like, I don't know, like that shoulder still, it hurts thinking about it, like how hard he hit me with that towel. But people were just going crazy. And I was just like, dude, this is hell. Like, this is the weeping and wailing and gnashing of teeth. Like, this is the scariest, weirdest, creepiest, worst thing that I've been through. And I didn't know how many people around me were pretending the way I was and how many people were, serious about what they were doing. But I knew what was expected of me, and I gave them what they wanted in order to survive. So in order to get out. But yeah, the seminars, I don't know, like, I know that they were life-changing for a lot of people. And I think especially maybe for like an adult who has not examined their life or been through therapy or thought about anything, I could see how they could be powerful. Or for maybe like a hardened drug addict who like has been sleeping in the gutter, maybe that would be really impactful. Oh, I am angry at my father or whatever. But for a fairly normal teenager who lived in, a nice middle class, family, who just tried smoking weed sometimes, like it was just kind of like, what is this? Like, I didn't have enough issues to make that level of craziness relevant to me. It was like, that was what was giving me issues, was being there. Like, I was a pretty normal kid. I was talking to my therapist about it, and I was like, well, I did do drugs. And she's like, Cami, teenagers try drugs. It doesn't mean you're like super messed up, like you just experiment with things. Like, that's pretty normal. Which gave me kind of a different perspective, because I was like, well, I deserved it because I was doing drugs, but no, I probably didn't need to be there. I didn't need that level of intervention. I was a sneaky kid. I was, I liked to do what I wanted to do, but I was also a smart kid. Like I said, I went to the library and I researched all of the drugs, and I made a yes list and a no list, and I never did, and like, my friends called me Mama Cami because I would like kind of like mother hen everybody. And when I went, and if we did any kind of substance, my friends and I, with boys around or older, because we were often with older guys, when you're a teenage girl, older guys are offering you drugs a lot. And so I would always bring my girls in and I'd be like, okay, you guys, pinky swear, like we won't leave each other alone, because I didn't want anybody to get sexually assaulted, So I was definitely rebellious, and I definitely had, I was sneaky and I ditched school and I did all this stuff, but I like wasn't really stupid and I wasn't really a horrible kid. And it's almost like they coached us to be so super dramatic there. They're like, oh, I would be dead if I weren't in this program, blah, blah, blah. No, I would not have been dead if I wasn't in that program. I was really careful. I never got in the car with somebody who'd been drinking. Like I was, like I said, a pretty smart kid. So I don't know. Okay, I went way off again. What's your next question? I'll really
You're
stick with
good.
it this time.
You're good. Actually, you didn't really go off course. In Focus, do you remember a seminar where they something about a lifeboat and they had you in a circle and they fucking
Yes.
yeah? Okay. What was your experience of that?
This is gonna be embarrassing. Because I like listen to you guys and you guys are like, I rebelled the whole time. No, I was like, little miss, like, you want me to freaking roll on the ground in the snow? I will roll on the ground in the snow. You want me? Whatever you want. I'm getting out of here. Anyway, though, yeah, I made it on the lifeboat. I was one of the 3 people who made it on the lifeboat.
How did that process affect you?
I mean, like, if you're one of the people who gets chosen, you feel like crap because I definitely did not feel worthy of that. I definitely felt like the reason that people chose me was because, I mean, I knew I wasn't being authentic. So the people who said, you die, you remember that, you die, right? The people who said that, I'm like, yeah, these people see the real me. And then the people who were like, you live, I was like, oh, come on. That's just disappointing. I'm so full of crap right now. And you chose me. But yeah, I made it on the lifeboat, which was, and then I got, oh my gosh, the worst feedback. Like when I made it on the lifeboat, people were like, I can't believe they chose you. These people are such idiots. They're like, how could you make it on the lifeboat when you choose to let yourself die every single day? I don't know. It was just a bunch of bullshit. I don't know. But I know for a lot of people that was a really impactful thing, but it wasn't. Again, to me, it was, I have to fake this so that I can get through this, Apparently I was pretty good at it. Made it on the lifeboat. Yay.
Okay. Let's see. Well, you're the first person that's remembered that process, so that's crazy.
Oh yeah, I remember a lot of weird stuff, but there's some things I don't remember at all.
Okay, let's so did you graduate from the program? I forget.
I did. Yeah.
Okay. Did you go?
But I didn't really. Actually, like I was on level 4 and then this other junior staff and I, like, something snapped and we started a mud fight with the entire girls' family.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I mean, obviously we were going to get in trouble for that, but I don't, because we were junior staff. So I guess maybe we thought we weren't going to, but it was just like, you're so like regimented that we started this mud fight. Anyway, so I got dropped back to level 2. And then I think I got voted back up to level 5 again, or 4. And then I think my grandparents were just like, listen, you idiots, she's fine. Like, she doesn't need to be there anymore. Because, the program will do like the hard sell. They'll try to keep you there as long as possible. And they're like, no, she's cooked. Like, let her out. And so I think my grandparents just said, we're not paying for it anymore. So you can send her home now, or you can let her graduate, but we will pay for like 1 or 2. This is what I assume happened. Both my grandparents are dead now. I never talked to them about it, so I don't know. But so then they skipped me from level 4 to level 6, and then I graduated. Did
you go through Trail of Lights?
Yes.
What did you like that? What was your song? How was your experience of that?
Did I like it? Just kidding. I actually don't remember. Oh crap, my battery. Okay, I have 9%. I actually don't remember a song. I think
they didn't let you pick a song for when you were crowd surfed.
surfing thing in a seminar, but we didn't do that for Trail of Lights. I think my Trail of Lights was the first one ever.
Okay, what did they do with Trail of Lights for yours?
So what they did with us, they blindfolded us, of course, because how fun is that? And it was snowy. I don't think it was too cold, but it was snowy.
Were you blindfolded the whole day?
In my memory, it started in the afternoon or evening. I don't think we were blindfolded all day, but I was a junior staff by then, I think.
And you had to do everything in the blindfold, right?
Yeah, here, I'll just tell you what I remember.
Yeah.
So like, we were blindfolded, and then lined up on either side were all of the lower levels, who of course hated us because we were junior staff. And so we had to walk. They were lined up on either side. We had to walk through, and they just were screaming the most vile, horrible, like, feedback. They were just screaming the worst possible things at us, which when you're a girl, it's always, you're a fucking slut, you're a dirty, dirty whore. I was a virgin, thank you very much, but whatever, call me that, that's fine. Actually, I have a story about that. In Focus, Dwayne Smotherman, is that his name? Anyway.
I know Dwayne.
Yeah. So like, that's always the feedback when you're a girl, right? They always call you a slut and stuff. And in Focus, I knew I shouldn't do this because it's like no rebuttals, right? But a bunch of people were saying that crap to me. Oh, you're a slut, blah, blah, blah. And finally, I was just like, listen, guys, I am a virgin. So I don't know how I can be a slut and a virgin, but like, you're wrong. But Dwayne comes up to me, this big 6 foot tall, guy who used to be in gangs. And he comes up to me and he like bends over me and he goes, if I met you on the streets, I would have you doing whatever I wanted within an hour. Like, this guy is basically telling me, he's like in his 40s and I'm a 16-year-old, and he's telling me that, I could make you do whatever I wanted.
And that's the facilitator, correct?
That's the facilitator.
Okay.
Yeah.
For people who don't know.
In that one, because there was also this kid, and I won't say his name, but hey, kid, I respect you. He actually stole a staff member's truck and ran away. This guy was a legend. Okay. There's so many memories with this guy. Anyway, though, he was like talking back to Dwayne in the seminar. Dwayne went up and grabbed him by his shirt, by the neck of his shirt, and lifted him above his head.
My dad used to do that to me as a kid.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah, that's
and then yell in my face. Yeah. But
yeah, it's like,
so yeah, I know what that's like.
Look how powerful I am, and look how powerless you are. Like, it's BS.
Yeah,
nobody should ever treat.
Too. My dad was 6'6" too, so that's about the same height. That shit sucks.
Yeah. Nobody should ever be treated that way. Yeah. I'm sorry that happened.
Yeah, my childhood wasn't horrible, but it wasn't the best either.
Yeah,
but I love my parents. I love my parents though.
Yeah, me too. I get along with my parents now. My mom has definitely apologized. My mom has definitely said she's sorry. She didn't know, what the program was when they sent me. So, yeah.
But anyways, you were saying about how he went up to Dwayne or whatever.
Yeah, what was
in a seminar? The guy that ran away or whatever.
Oh yeah, no, so Dwayne lifted him. I mean, that's like no adult. That's not okay. But wait,
in the middle of the seminar, he did this?
Yeah, right in the middle of the seminar, wow. And it was right behind me. It's weird. I remember a lot of things kind of like positionally, but I remember it was right behind me, and I could hear the kid choking and gasping, and I was like, I don't know if I'm going to get a consequence if I turn around. And then finally I looked and I saw him all the way up in the air. It was screwed up, man. That kid didn't deserve that either. But I was talking about that because I was talking about Trail of Lights. And so I'm going between, and they're all screaming all the stuff that they scream at, they hated us because we were junior staff or whatever.
Did they tell you what that was for? Did they tell you like why they were doing that? Because they said why they were doing it in my Trail of Lights, so I'm curious.
So I think Trail of Lights was Chafin's baby, because of course it was, because he's Chafin. Yeah. So Chafin was like, this is what the real world is going to be like for
Yep.
you. He's
exact
like, people
same
are,
shit they said to me. Exact same for word.
Okay, Chafin, I hope he listens to this. No, motherfucker. No, that doesn't happen in normal life. No, it doesn't. Okay. My life since the program has been fantastic. In fact, if anything bad is happening in my life, I go, well, at least I'm not in the program. Nothing like that ever happens in normal life. Maybe you hear a rumor that somebody said something bad about you once. That's what happens in normal life. What a bunch of crap. No.
I know.
No,
there are assholes for sure. There's assholes everywhere for sure, but yeah, that doesn't happen in life.
Say stuff like that, not in my world.
Yeah.
People are civilized.
Yeah.
No, the only place that anybody has ever said stuff like that to me has been in the program. Thank you very much. Like, yeah, there's people who don't like me, but it's not like that, because that's not how human beings behave unless they're made to, because they're under extreme stress, like we were in the program.
Yeah.
Ugh. What universe do they live in? Anyway, yeah, so they did that, and then Cameron was ahead of us, and he was walking, and we were meant to be able to follow Cameron with our blindfolds on. Did they do that with you?
They did that with me. They did that with us too, a little bit different, but they did the same kind of shit.
Like, Cameron is our savior. Like, Cameron is God, and we have to follow him. I was peeking because, hi, you're gonna peak. Like, your program depends on this. You're on the upper levels. You don't want to drop. So I did make it to Cameron, and so I started stomping so the people behind me could hear where we were. And so because I was stomping, somebody got in line behind me and was stomping, and so everybody was stomping to like help the people behind them find where we were supposed to be going. And then, I don't know, I just remember a lot of staggering through the snow. I don't really remember the symbolism or anything, but we finally made it to a fire and music. And then we like shared, because that's what you do in the program. I staffed a trail of lights, and that same kid who got hoisted up. Oh, wait. Yes. Yeah. It was the same kid who got hoisted up and who stole the truck and ran away. Something happened to somebody else, and I laughed because it was funny, or I thought it was funny at the time. And that same kid swung out and punched me. He was blindfolded because he was in the process, and I was staffing it, and he punched me, and I fell down. He hit me right in the face, and I fell down. And so I like went over to Cameron. I'm like, Cameron, so-and-so, the guy's name, punched me. And Cameron goes, and so he called the other kid over, and he goes, can I have your promise that you will not harm this young lady if she continues? Yeah. And the kid, I think he didn't know it was me, because he was always actually really sweet to me. And there's more to that too. He was actually in prison, and he wrote to me afterwards, and I never wrote him back. And I regret that. If he listens to this, hey, I regret that. I wish I had written you when you were in prison. I'm sorry about that. Anyway, though, and he goes, oh, shoot, that was Cami? Oh, I'm sorry, I touched you, Cami. And I was like, it's all right. Yeah, but I don't really remember the significance of Trail of Lights. I just remember it was more just squeezing as much. I don't know. I think the staff were kind of like in a competition to like, oh, you're so powerful. The kids really respond to the things that you put them through, or some BS like that. So I don't know. To me, it was just staggering around in the snow for no reason, the way you do when you're in a program.
And how many people went on Trail of Lights with you? How many other people were doing it with you?
You know, weirdly, the later parts of the program I don't remember as well. And I think it was just because my brain like was not encoding properly, because I was under such extreme amounts of stress.
Yeah.
But I want to say there were maybe 15. I think it was just the junior staff, and I don't remember who else was with me or anything.
Okay, and when you got on, okay, so how long did it take you to get to level 4 when you got, from the time you got there?
See, that's another thing I don't remember well. I do remember it was fast. I remember that I got level 4 sooner than a couple of girls who had gotten there before me. So I got there after them, and then I was their junior staff. So that was kind of a hard thing too, you know, that I moved up pretty fast. But then I got dropped, of course, because they needed more money. And how else are you going to get money but drop this kid who's trying so hard? You got to keep those kids in the program, man. I mean, Cameron and Chapin got bonuses for keeping us in the program. Did you know that? I've read a bunch of court documents. Did you know that our parents got fined 25% or 25 cents every time we got a warning, and it was 50 cents if we didn't self-correct? Do you know that one?
Oh, whoa.
That's what I saw some document that said that. Yeah. And like, think of how that is to your parents. They're like, oh, you know, $80 of warnings, you know, this month for your kid. And your parents like, geez, my kid's really poorly behaved. They didn't know that the reason we were getting warnings was because we accidentally looked to the side while we were in line, or looked out a window, or made a facial expression. Like, they didn't know that that's why we were getting warnings. They just thought, oh man, Cami's breaking a lot of rules. Why doesn't she get her stuff together? You know, such BS. It's such like a transparent way to just get more money out of our parents.
For sure. Let's see. So worst thing you saw or witnessed when you were there, or hold on. Before that, what was their policy on runners? What did people tell you about when people ran, and were there any runners during your time there?
Yeah, so I can't remember if it was the time the kids stole the truck or another time, but so they would shut down the whole facility, and we would just have to stay in our beds, which was actually awesome, you know, because I could like write in my journal or whatever. But we weren't allowed to talk, and we would just have to stay. Like, they would just shut down the entire facility.
Was that a FedEx truck that he stole? That kid stole? Was it a FedEx truck? No? Okay.
I think it was just like a truck.
Okay.
Yeah. That little badass, huh? I wish I had the balls to do anything like that while I was in the program, but no, I was like, ooh. I don't think it helped me that much that I tried so hard, but yeah. So yeah, I don't think a lot of kids ran while I was there. It was funny though, because they'd be like, we're in the middle of nowhere, and there's like mountain lions and bears and stuff, and they're gonna get you. And I've been outdoors a lot. I was like, yeah, the chances of any wild animal hurting you are like so slim. I don't know, so dumb. But they used it because they, you know, kids were scared. So
do you remember them saying something along the lines of what happens in the woods stays in the woods?
I think I do remember hearing that. Yeah. Yeah. But okay. You know, I think that the girls' side, especially at that time, we had some really sweet staff members actually, who were just, I mean, I just think they didn't. I think when you're a staff member and you get to go home and your whole life doesn't depend on your performance in the program, I don't think they could really, even though they were there, I don't think they could really see what it was doing to us.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. Anyway, though, I think the girls' side was at that time especially was a lot more civilized than the boys' side. You know, like they didn't say that stuff as much. You know, I think I do remember hearing something about Naked Thursdays or something, where some staff had like the boys in the cabin. They were all naked on Thursdays or something with the lights off. Yeah. You'd have to ask the boys. I like heard about it in passing because of course you don't hear much news from the boys' side. Yeah. But I don't know what that was. You'd have to ask somebody else who was there while I was there. But I you know, obviously, like if it's what it sounds like it was probably a pedophile who had gotten work there and thought that was exciting to be in a cabin of naked boys. So sure. But I don't know the details on that one.
Yeah. Okay, so you graduated and then you said you staffed some seminars afterwards too?
Yeah.
Was that on the upper levels?
Well, after, I mean, I staffed a lot of seminars while I was in the program. At least, I mean, not a lot, maybe like 3 or 4, maybe. But when I got out, I staffed a couple parent seminars and they were such a joke. You know, like they were torturing us, but the parent seminars were like, oh, I'm gonna give you some feedback. Okay. It was like so diluted and so just like civilized and normal. So even, you know, the parents went through the seminars, they didn't understand what our seminars were like. They didn't understand that our seminars, kids were like throwing up, you weren't allowed to sleep. They would like do a seminar and then go out to dinner and then like enjoy their hotel room. You know what I mean? Totally different. Totally different. Hey, I really got to go to the bathroom. Can I like
go ahead?
Go and then
go ahead.
And I also need to like plug in my computer, but I left my power block at my friend's house. It's kind of crazy. So that might take a second. So can we like hang up and then I'll call you back?
Yeah, we can make this 2 parts.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
Thanks.
yeah, we'll do that. All right. So yeah, call me
All
back.
right.